the second part of the adding details, and let's start with the wood. Let's start with this beam first. Alt-A to deselect everything and then hover over the beam and click on L and select the beam. Now let's color pick the brown color. And as you may notice, it's pretty hard to see the edge here, and there's a trick for that. So the edge here is practically invisible, and it's really hard to draw a line there and make sure that you're at the right place. So you go to the shader menu, and here under cavity, if you turn it on, you can see a line here. So that makes it a lot easier to find the edge of the mesh. If you want to make it a little bit lighter, you can, go back to the shader menu, and here under cavity you can find the ridge here, and just turn it a little bit down to make that cavity line a little bit lighter. You can also change the valley. That's here, valley, and that's, well, I don't know exactly what it is, but it highlights the differences between other edges. Like that, the black line. Okay, so now we can see where we want to paint. Okay, I already have the right color, I think. Let's just pick it again to be sure. Make it a little bit lighter again. And now we can follow this cavity line to draw in the edges. And don't draw until the end of the bottom, because there's an ambient occlusion there, so there's no edge visible there. And on top as well, don't let it go all the way to the top, because in the darker parts you always lose detail. So you can just leave the edge out there. Remember the bowl where we lost edges? Or had soft edges, all kinds of edges. That's the same here. You can play with these edges and just leave some out. It will also help with the readability of your painting if you leave stuff out sometimes. I'll speed up the video here because, well, I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. So there we go. So maybe I painted it a little bit too light, but that's okay. I like it a little bit cartoonish. So if you want to have it a little bit more realistic, then you can make these edges a little bit darker. So let's do the roof. So we'll deselect everything with Alt-A. And I noticed we forgot to draw this line here. So it needs to go all the way through there, because this is one beam and this is the other beam. So we need to have a dark crease here as well. So we can hit L to select the part, L again to extend the selection, and again L to add this side as well. So now we have the complete roof except for the inner part, but that's okay. So let's add the crease here. Let's pick a dark color here and make it a little bit darker even. And let's draw this crease in here. Now you can see this helping line here, that the cavity that we turned on really helps. Let's see, okay, that's good. Now the other side. And let me give you a friendly reminder that you don't have to be too accurate when drawing here, because A, it's an old well, so everything is a little bit crooked, and B, we're going to draw over everything again, so that's not a problem if you're not drawing too precise now. Or not accurate. So there you have it, let's have a look. So next up is the edges on the roof. And by now you know what I'm doing, so I'll speed up the video after a while. So first color pick, make it lighter again, and then draw on the edges. like so. And always make sure that you don't see the transition between the edges that are really there. So you don't see the transition between the dark and the lighter parts of the side and the top. Something like this. And we'll do it there as well, and there. And I'll just speed up the video because I think it's clear what I'm doing here. So I'll see you back after the speed up. So now we came to this point here where I think we should add a shadow instead of a highlight, just to give some depth. So let's color pick and make it a little bit darker and add some shadow here. Like so. And let's do some shadow here as well, because I think these planks are having a sort of an inset, so it would make sense to have a shadow there as well. Let's see, maybe a little bit darker. Something like this here as well, and on this side as well. You'll see that this really gives a lot of depth. When you look at it from a distance, it'll look really good. Maybe something a little bit darker here. It's probably catching a little bit more shadow than the sides. Let's take a distance and have a look. Okay, that's pretty good, alright. Maybe some small fixes, so color pick and draw. Make this edge a little bit softer. Here as well, maybe here, there. Let's have a look. That makes sense, right? The roof tiles are next up, so they need something extra. We'll have a look at the sketch first. Yep, there we go. So the roof is a little bit rounded off the top, and the tiles have a curved shape, but we can't do that here because we have not enough topology. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to fake it in a way. And we'll do it by adding highlights and shadows that will make it look as if there's much more topology. So what we'll do is we'll add a highlight or a soft stroke. We'll do it here, there, there and there. And then we'll also add some shadow next to it, just to make it pop a little bit more. I'll probably make the crease a little bit smaller because the tiles will be overlapping. And then I'll also add a curve here, there and well on every tile of course. So first hit 7 to go to top view, then hit 5 to go to orthographic view. Now let's zoom in a bit, like so. So we'll add a gradient over these tiles here. And you probably guessed it, we're going to use the soft brush for that. Yes, we are really going to use that. So let's first make the brush a little bit bigger then. And let's pick the color and make that lighter, like so. Set it on a line. And let's just make it a little bit more yellow because we are on top of the roof. So makes sense. A little bit smaller maybe. That could work. Now let's do it for all the lines or rows of tiles or columns, depending on the angle you're looking at them. So draw these in there, and it already gets a little bit of more shape. Let's exaggerate that a little bit by adding a highlight. It'll just pop out a little bit more. So let's make the color a little lighter and neutralize it as well. So go to the center of the circle. Make the brush smaller. And let's make a decision here. Shall we make that line on the left side? I think we can do that. I don't think it really matters because we don't have a left or right lit side on this well. So we can just for some depth and variation add it a little bit to the left. That's a little bit too much, I guess. Let's make it a little bit darker and a little bit bigger. So darker, top view again. A little bit bigger. And let's store that in again. I still think it's too much, so I'll make it a little bit bigger and a little bit darker again. Iteration, try, look, and try again. I think that's good. This is nice, subtle, and still is a nice highlight. So let's do that on all of them. A little bit left of the center, or right if you want, or in the center if you want. Your choice. And do you see how that pops now? How that really gives a 3D-ish look? But it's just the beginning. We'll even make it better. We'll add in the arches, so we'll pick a color here, so a darker color. Maybe a little bit darker, and then we'll dab the color in here and go up in the middle a bit. So like that, just make a blob like this. Just in the middle, go up a bit. Here as well. Don't be too precise again. These are all tiles. Do make sure that they're dark enough. And let's do 6 for now. A little bit darker. Maybe I should press a little harder, that helps as well, but making the value darker is just a bit easier for now. Change the shape if you want to have a good look. You can see the gradient already starts working even better. And then we go to the next step. We pick the color just underneath the blob we just made, and then just drag it up a bit until we have an arch like this. So do that here as well. Make a nice curve. Here as well, color pick, and then make a nice curve. Push it up, next, color pick, drag. And there are other ways to do this. You can, for example, use the smear brush, this one. Yes, the smear brush, yes, that's what I said. And then just push it up. But I like drawing it in. I feel like I have more control that way and can give more expression to what I'm making. So let's look at that from a distance. It looks already pretty good, but what are we missing? We are missing shadows. So let's paint that in. Oh, and let's first make these creases a little bit smaller. They are overlapping, so you will see less of a crease. And the 3 here we see in the middle. So for now I'll leave it with these 2. So next up is the shadows underneath the curves here. So pick up the color, make it darker, a lot darker. And then just slightly drag a small line in there. Maybe a little bit darker. Something like this. A nice curve. That lifts up the tiles already a little bit more. Let's see. Yep. Now to let it pop just a little bit more, we'll add a lighter curve again on top of these dark curves. So pick the color, make it lighter. And then draw these curves in, and you will see this will really finish it off. Look at that. Now you can also make a small gradient on the sides here. Like this, from light to dark, dark to light. Do you see what happens? The little edge just makes it pop a lot more. Pop, pop, pop. Okay, let's have a look. You see, that works, right? Let's do some small touch-ups. And let's make this gradient here a little bit better. So let's make it a little bit darker on top. And now for some extra pop, we can make the edges here a little bit darker again. So let's do that. There you go. And that side as well. Do you see what's happening? So I don't know if you noticed, but everything that's dark is further away from you than everything that's light. So that's what we are playing with here. So making stuff darker that's far away, and things that are closer are lighter. So let's soften this edge up a bit, like so. Like so, like so. Okay, let's have a look. Well, what I see is that this edge could be even a little bit lighter. You see, it doesn't really stick out. So you can make that just a little bit lighter. Pick the color, make it lighter. Let's try it. Really small, maybe lighter even. Just let it stick out. Like so. We can even add a darker part on top of the light part here again. If you add that just a little bit there. Maybe you think it's tedious, but you see the result is pretty good, right? You can make it a little bit softer again by picking the lighter color and dragging it in there a bit. Okay. So that's the result for now. I think it looks pretty good. Later on we'll do it on every tile on the roof and every brick. We'll add the details. We'll have to do the bottom here as well. We have to think of some trick to simulate the edge here. So what we did in this lecture is to give accents to certain parts of your model. We add a lighter value of the same color that's already on there. And if you even want to make it pop out a little bit more, that's a word we used a lot in this lecture, is we add a darker value to the lighter value again. So that's it for this lecture. Next lecture we'll go into more detailing and we'll see you there. Okay. Don't forget to save your texture. Bye bye.